Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Zhou Zhou stopped thinking about it. His gaze swept across the 100,000 green bronze knights and the extraordinary tier advanced grade green bronze general. Then, a smile appeared on his face. There were 689 legendary tier green bronze knights. The rest were all epic tier green bronze knights. That green bronze general in the black dragon bloodline armor was at the legendary tier elementary grade like him. It was not in vain that I brought all the legendary tier soldiers. Zhou Zhou looked at them. Then, he took a step forward. It was as if he had touched a mechanism with this one step. Rumble. The bronze ground trembled. Dragon roars could be vaguely heard from under the bronze ground. It was as if a pure-blooded dragon had woken up from the bronze tier ground and was venting its anger at the outside world. At the same time, the green bronze general standing at the front of all the green bronze knights also slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were also of ancient bronze, and he looked a little dazed. At that moment, he was staring at Zhou Zhou. The 100,000 green bronze knights behind him slowly opened their eyes. Then, they raised their bronze weapons almost at the same time and pointed them at Zhou Zhou and the others. Those who barge into the green bronze mausoleum die, they said expressionlessly in unison. Facing this scene, Zhou Zhou did not feel nervous at all. This was because even though both sides were epic tier and legendary tier experts, moreover, the other party was a special soldier type. However, half of them were special tier soldiers, King of Yellow Gold, and the other half were kingdom-level soldiers, violent storm spirits. Coupled with the military merit exchange system, every soldier had a large number of skills. If both sides dared to fight, they would definitely win. Just as he was thinking, this green bronze general called by Ling suddenly made an offensive gesture. Then, he saw the 100,000 green bronze knights behind him charging towards Zhou Zhou and the others with heavy and powerful steps. The green bronze earth was trembling slightly, giving the 100,000 green bronze knights an unstoppable aura.
Attack.
Destroy them. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he ordered expressionlessly. Yes, your majesty. Bai Yun immediately led the subjects and all the soldiers to rush towards the other party. Just as both sides were running towards each other, the green bronze general suddenly made another hand gesture. Then, the formation of the 100,000 green bronze knights suddenly changed smoothly, forming a special array. Right on the heels of that, wisps of military formation with a murderous aura with traces of green bronze appeared from every green bronze knights and condensed in the sky. Finally, they condensed into a spirit of the military formation that was more than 3,000 meters tall. The spirit of this military formation was a general standing on a bronze chariot. In front of him was a horseman in soldier armor driving a carriage. Horseman was nothing special. The specialness was on this general, the spirit of the military formation. This general was wearing dignified and extravagant black dragon armor. He held a spear in his hand and carried a weapon box, a large shield, and an arrow on his back. He looked majestic, like an all-round king of war standing on a carriage and rampaging on the battlefield. Facing this scene, Bai Yun snorted. With a thought, a large amount of silver sword energy appeared on each soldier's body. Then, it quickly gathered and formed a huge figure of a mysterious swordsman who was 10,000 meters tall. He was wearing a silver raincoat and holding a silver divine sword. His entire body was wrapped in silver sword energy, enveloping the 100,000 extraordinary tier soldiers. It was the spirit of the small god army formation. Sura Myriad Spirit Army Formation. Sura Swordsman. Kill! The soldiers on both sides roared and charged forward. Then, they quickly collided and fought crazily, inviting the other party's death. Clang! The sword and the spear collided. The two spirits of the Sura Swordsman and the invincible general were also officially fighting under the charge and shouts of the soldiers. Right on the heels of that, this invincible general was directly sent flying by the Sura Swordsman's sword. Even the 100,000 green bronze knights and the green bronze general were sent flying uncontrollably before falling heavily to the ground. Even though these Green Bronze Knights and the Green Bronze General did not die directly because of the invincible army formation, it also weakened their aura. On the other side, the Sura swordsman was still expressionless. He held the silver divine sword in his hand and quickly walked towards the spirit of the invincible military formation. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. The Green Bronze Generals and Green Bronze Knights forcefully stood up one after another. Then, they rode on the spirits of the invincible military formation and stabbed their spears back into their weapons boxes. Then, they pulled out the bows on their backs and shot an arrow at the Sura swordsman. The bow was like a thunderbolt. This sudden arrow shot over extremely quickly and arrived in front of the Sura swordsman in the blink of an eye. However, the Sura swordsman still reacted. It raised its hand extremely quickly and waved a Shinra sword chi. The Shinra sword chi easily cut through the ancient bronze arrow and shot towards the spirit of the invincible army formation. When the spirit of the invincible military formation saw this scene, it immediately threw away the bow and arrow in its hand. Then, it pulled out the huge green bronze shield on its back and in the blink of an eye, posed in front of it in a perfect defense posture, perfectly protecting the body of the spirit of its military formation and the 100,000 Green Bronze Knights and Green Bronze Generals inside. Seeing this scene, Zhou Zhou seized the opportunity to raise his hand and activate Insight Defection. An invisible fluctuation instantly covered the 100,000 Green Bronze Knights and the Green Bronze General. A text notification appeared. Prompt: You have activated your Lord's exclusive talent, Insight Defection. Insight Defection has taken effect. Lord Talent Notification. A total of 24,879 Epic Tier Green Bronze Knights and 121 Legendary Tier Green Bronze Knights have betrayed their Lord faction and become your loyal subordinates. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. This was why he brought so many top soldiers over. He wanted the result of this Insight Defection. More than 24,000 Epic Tier soldiers and 121 Legendary Tier soldiers. The military strength of the army he had with him now was weak. At the same time, just after his Insight Defection succeeded, the spirit of the invincible army formation instantly dissipated, revealing the 75,000 Green Bronze Knights and Green Bronze Generals inside. As for the 25,000 Green Bronze Knights that he had Insight Defection on, Zhou Zhou had already ordered them to retreat the moment he succeeded. The remaining Green Bronze Knights clearly could not react for a moment in the face of the Shinra sword chi that had already flown into their faces. In the next moment, boom. This sword chi that was equivalent to a low-tier deity-level intermediate grade god spirit smashed into these Green Bronze Knights, shattering more than 1,000 of them on the spot. The nearby Green Bronze Knights were also affected by the sword chi, and their bronze bodies more or less became a little incomplete. The Green Bronze General wanted to control the crowd control army to counterattack again. However, the Sura swordsman walked forward again and slashed at them again. Boom. The bronze ground trembled. Another 1,000 Green Bronze Knights were shattered. The Sura swordsman did not show any mercy after gaining the upper hand. He slashed down again and again, killing these Green Bronze Knights in the blink of an eye. The last strike. He decapitated the Green Bronze General with a single slash. The Green Bronze General's eyes widened slightly before he slowly closed them. The battlefield returned to calm. The Sura swordsman swept his gaze across the battlefield. After confirming that he had not missed any Green Bronze Knights, his body turned into countless silver sword chi and gradually dissipated, revealing Bai Yun and the other 100,000 elite soldiers inside the spirit of the military formation. Bai Yun left the soldiers and walked to the Green Bronze General. She picked up his head and body and turned around to return to Zhou Zhou. Your Majesty, the enemy has been defeated. Bai Yun put down the Green Bronze General's corpse and said respectfully, Go clean up the battlefield. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Yes, Your Majesty. Bai Yun said respectfully and turned to leave. When Zhou Zhou saw this, his gaze landed on the Green Bronze General's corpse. He pondered for a long time and finally raised his right hand, preparing to retrieve this guy's loot. Soon, The green bronze general's corpse quickly turned into a large amount of loot and flew into his king's treasure box. At the same time, Zhou Zhou also looked at the text notification in front of him. Lord Talent notification. Your loots have been enhanced by the King of Loots, perfect loots. Grade +1. Title hint. Your loots have been affected by the title of the strongest lord. The number of loots has increased by 150%. Lord Talent notification. You have obtained perfect loots, 50 divine crystals, low-tier deity advanced grade, 3 sets of low-tier deity advanced grade black dragon bloodline divine artifact outfits, 3 soldier god battle formation skill books, low-tier advanced grade, 3 silver book, special tier, 3 dragon transformation pool special building blueprints, special tier, 1 black dragon remnant soul, high-tier deity level advanced grade. Zhou Zhou began to check the loots. There was naturally no need to mention the divine crystals and the low-tier advanced grade divine artifact outfits. The Soldier God Battle Formation skill book was an upgraded version of the 10-directional invincible battle formation. It could summon the spirit of a military formation with the strength of an advanced grade low-tier deity with just 100 legendary tier soldiers and 100 million epic tier soldiers. The abilities that the weapon god had were very comprehensive. Whether it was bows, spears, shields, swords, daggers, or even abilities like controlling chariots, the spirit of the military formation, the soldier god could perfectly master and use them on his opponent. Moreover, its consumption was extremely low. Manipulating the spirit of such a military formation for an hour only required 1 low-tier deity advanced grade god spirit. An hour was enough for an existence with the combat strength of an advanced grade low-tier deity to do many things. This was a military formation that was better than the small god Sura Myriad Spirit Army formation in terms of combat strength and endurance. Zhou Zhou decided to send it to Bai Yun, Wu Xian, and Luo Sheng. The first two were naturally geniuses in military formations. As a ghost god general, Luo Sheng also had a very high understanding and talent in military formations. Coupled with the high-level secret manual of the hero inheritance and the book of the god spirit he had recently given him, giving the other party a chance to learn this higher-level military formation was their last choice. Zhou Zhou did not learn any of them. As a lord, he would not go to the battlefield often after all. He almost had no use for this military formation. Moreover, there was a chance that he would be able to directly master the abilities of his subordinates through the Lord Shop or the King's Lord Talent in the future. Since that was the case, there was actually no need for him to keep it to learn. After making up his mind, he looked at the next loots. Treasure name, Book of Silver, Treasure grade, Special tier, Treasure effect. Fuse it with the Territory Stone tablet, and you can specify the quality of a soldier type in the Territory +1. It cannot exceed the Kingdom-level soldier type. Treasure description, a top-grade rare treasure that can increase the quality of soldier types. It is extremely loved by thousands of lords. When Zhou Zhou saw this information, he immediately revealed a look of joy. As expected of the Book of Silver that had been enhanced by the King of Loots. Now, he could actually strengthen his soldier type to a Kingdom-level soldier type. This was much stronger than the Green Bronze book. The only enhancement target in Zhou Zhou's heart was naturally the King of Yellow Gold. The King of Yellow Gold's current performance on the battlefield was quite satisfactory to him. Not only could it resist and fight, but Zhou Zhou had no reason to refute if the Book of Silver was used to strengthen it after all. As for the other 2 books of silver, Zhou Zhou planned to keep them for now and wait until he encountered a suitable target in the future. Then, he looked at the 3 identical special building blueprints. Building blueprint name, Dragon Transformation Pool. Building blueprint level, Special. Building blueprint effect, Pure Bloodline. Non-pure-blooded dragon life forms with dragon bloodline can purify the dragon bloodline in their bodies through the baptism of the Dragon Transformation Pool and advance to a pure-blooded dragon. Materials needed to make the Dragon Transformation Pool, pure-blooded dragon blood of low-tier deity level elementary grade at the very least, pure-blooded dragon soul of low-tier deity level elementary grade at the very least, low-tier deity level elementary grade fruit, scarlet dragon fruit, low-tier deity level elementary grade medicinal herbs, blood dragon wood, low-tier deity level elementary grade medicinal herbs, 9-leaf divine flower, low-tier deity level intermediate. Grade fruit, jade exquisite. Building blueprint description, one of the inheritance treasures of the dragon race. It is an important bloodline building for the dragon race to increase the number of their members and continue the inheritance of the race. It's actually a building blueprint for purifying the dragon bloodline? Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. He thought for a moment and suddenly remembered that this building was also useful to his territory. After all, even though he had a pure-blooded dragon, he also had the 100 drake seeds that the Dragon Lady Lord had sent over to by his kingdom token. In addition, the other party would send over 50 drake cubs tomorrow. These were all good seedlings that could be promoted to pure-blooded dragons. He just did not know how many pure-blooded dragons this dragon transformation pool could create after he built it. Then, he looked at the last loot. Black Dragon Remnant Soul. Treasure name, Black Dragon Remnant Soul. Treasure grade, high-tier deity level advanced grade. Treasure effect, the remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor who had fallen into a dormant state. He was once the founder of the Dragon Qin Empire. Later, during the Divine Kingdom Advancement Ceremony, he was assassinated and severely injured by a spy planted in the empire by the Canine Sealing Empire. Not long after, he died completely. The descendants of the Dragon Qin Empire were unwilling to let the ancestor leave just like that, so they used the 9-9 life wheel reincarnation restriction technique to split the Black Dragon soul into 81 portions and place them in the 81 green bronze mausoleums. They also sent a portion of soldiers to guard the guardian mausoleums and wait for the future resurrection of the Black Dragon Emperor. Treasure description. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul is awakening. Zhou Zhou's pupils constricted. Without thinking, he threw the 3 remnant souls of the Black Dragon Emperor into the distance. However, not long after he threw it out, he saw 3 palm-sized remnant souls of the Black Dragon Emperor suddenly hover strangely in the sky of the green bronze mausoleum. Countless black energy turned into thick and dignified black dragons. They swept over from all directions. Some simply appeared from the void. Then, they surged into the remnant souls of the 3 Black Dragon Emperors like whales. The corporeal pressure of a high-tier deity level and the pressure of the pure-blooded dragon bloodline swept in all directions with an invincible aura. In the blink of an eye, this majestic aura enveloped Zhou Zhou, Bai Yun, and the other 100,000 soldiers. However, everyone was a dragon slayer. Facing this physical bloodline pressure, not only did they not bend down from the pressure, but the aura on their bodies suddenly increased, and their eyes became sharper. X3. 3 low and surprised voices sounded from the remnant souls of the 3 Black Dragon Emperors. Right on the heels of that, the 3 palm-sized remnant souls of the Black Dragon Emperor expanded rapidly with the help of a large amount of natural energy. 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. When they increased to more than 1,000 kilometers tall, the bodies of the 3 Black Dragon Emperors gradually stopped growing. Such a shocking scene made Zhou Zhou and the others, who looked up at the Black Dragon Emperor's divine body, speechless. It was magical. This green bronze mausoleum seemed to be augmented by a portion of the law of space, so much so that the Black Dragon Emperor's body had expanded to such an extent. Its size seemed to be able to increase with it, and it would not restrict the Black Dragon Remnant Soul's body at all. I'm very satisfied. In the sky, the Black Dragon Emperor's low and dignified voice suddenly sounded. I don't know how you did it. However, if you can create 3 more remnant souls like me, I can promise you that I can help you build a new empire that belongs to your human race. Before I died, I remember that there were only 5 empire-level lord factions in your entire human race. I think the condition I raised is already quite superior. When Zhou Zhou heard this, he had to admit that he was tempted. However, he quickly forgot about this temptation. If you don't give me any practical benefits, why are you talking about hook 8? Where did your habit of flattery come from? Something practical. Zhou Zhou said directly. The Black Dragon Remnant Soul was silent for a while, as if it did not expect this person to be so direct. He fell silent for a few seconds before saying, There aren't many practical benefits in this green bronze mausoleum. Those green bronze knights have also been defeated by you. The loots on them have also been taken away by you. I'm only a remnant soul now. I have nothing to give you. However, if you promise me, I can tell you the location of the other green bronze mausoleums and the way to control them. At that time, I only wanted my dragon soul. As for the other treasures of the Dragon Qin Empire in the green bronze mausoleum, you can take them all. How about that? That sounds good. Zhou Zhou pretended to be deep in thought while raising his vigilance to the highest level. This was because just as he tried to agree to the other party's request, his epic tier Lord Talent intuition suddenly gave him a huge warning sign. This meant that even though the other party's words sounded good, there was actually great danger hidden. Old silver coins black dragon. Zhou Zhou cursed in his heart. If it were any other lord, they might really not be able to resist the other party's temptation and fall into his trap. Fortunately, he had a lord talent like intuition, which could avoid danger. Just as he was thinking about how to restore the old silver coins black dragon, an urgent alarm suddenly sounded in his heart. At the same time, the regal sage Dao's sword at his waist vibrated crazily. Boom! A huge explosion shook. The entire green bronze mausoleum was shattered at this moment. Even in the outside world, the entire Black Dragon mountain range shook violently. The collapse of the mountain happened everywhere. Fearful roars came from the monsters, streams were cut off, and the beast tides surged. At this moment, the entire Black Dragon mountain range was in chaos. What happened? Bai Chen, who was leading troops to guard the green bronze mausoleum, was stunned when he saw this scene. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation after guarding the green bronze mausoleum for so many years. Oh no! Your Majesty of the blazing sun! He suddenly thought of something, and his expression changed as he looked at the entrance of the green bronze mausoleum. Inside the green bronze mausoleum, after the aftershock of the explosion and the dust dissipated, he saw a human and 3 black dragons confronting each other from afar. The person was naturally Zhou Zhou. At this moment, he was unharmed, but his emperor dragon robe fluttered in the wind. He looked coldly at the 3 black dragon remnant souls in front of him. These 3 black dragon remnant souls were naturally the remnant souls of the black dragon emperor. At this moment, they were looking at Zhou Zhou and the regal sage Dao sword that was blocking he. The regal sage Dao sword was like an incomparably sturdy wall, blocking their thoughts of taking another step forward. The remnant souls of the 3 black dragon emperors looked at the sword and then at Zhou Zhou. They suddenly laughed softly. Then, their laughter became louder and louder. In the blink of an eye, it spread throughout the entire dilapidated green bronze mausoleum. Even the Black Dragon mountain range outside the green bronze mausoleum and even further away could be heard. The remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor in the middle looked at Zhou Zhou as if he was looking at a peerless treasure. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Chaos Human Bloodline, Original Spirit Race Bloodline, Light Sacred Dragon Bloodline, and this regal sage Dao sword that protects its master. You, a human, actually occupy so many of the world's top treasures? What a waste. What a waste. If I possess your body, not to mention dominating the high continent, I would even have the guts to fight for the Lord of all races. I really didn't expect this. Back then, Houndfeng and I came to the high continent from the immortal world. We originally only wanted to become lords and obtain the recognition of the supreme will in the Lord War for supremacy, thereby advancing further. I'm only thinking about the position of the Lord of all races, but I know that I have no hope at all facing those top-notch lords and veteran race civilizations. I didn't expect. Now, I actually see my hope of achieving the Tao from you. The heavens are helping me. Ha 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 ha. Give up resisting. As soon as he finished speaking, the remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor in the middle raised its head and roared. Then, it bit Zhou Zhou again. A terrifying pressure swept over, as if the air had become as heavy as a mountain. Zhou Zhou's expression turned cold. Then, He activated the king's innate ability without hesitation and augmented all of Guo Qiao's strength on himself, increasing his strength to the low-tier deity level intermediate grade. Then, he used Guo Qiao's low potential to directly activate the power of the Dragon Slayer, allowing the strength enhanced on him to jump to the high-tier deity level intermediate grade. At this moment, Guo Qiao's strength, coupled with Zhou Zhou's own strength, made Zhou Zhou quickly realize that his current combat strength was one of the best even among high-tier deity levels. Then, with a thought, he recalled the regal sage Dao sword that was protecting its master. Then, he held the regal sage Dao sword and slashed at the remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor that was rushing towards him with all his might. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul, six senses, was also very shocking. He immediately felt that there was something wrong with the power of this strike and that it might severely injure him. Therefore, he immediately turned around and dodged this attack without thinking. He looked down at Zhou Zhou after successfully dodging. You humans really have many surprising methods. But, and now? The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul sneered. Then, the other two Black Dragon Emperor remnant souls behind, he flew over and flew side by side with the Black Dragon Emperor. The remnant souls of the three Black Dragon Emperors with the strength of high-tier deity level advanced grades stared at Zhou Zhou with indifferent eyes. It was as if he was looking at a dead person. Facing this scene, Zhou Zhou first took out the pillar of the Empire puppet expressionlessly and summoned Gerard, who had the strength of a high-tier deity level intermediate grade. Then, he formed a seal with both hands and muttered something. Then, his right hand suddenly slapped the void under his feet. The next second, a huge purple teleportation array appeared under Zhou Zhou's feet. Right on the heels of that, a huge snake with purple jade eyes and a snake body that was also more than 1,000 kilometers tall appeared from the teleportation array. It glanced at Zhou Zhou and then looked solemnly at the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul. It was the high-tier deity advanced grade divine insect, the purple jade heavenly king snake god that Zhou Zhou had summoned from the affinity of the poison god. The three high-tier deity level existences actually seemed to suppress the Black Dragon remnant soul, which also had three advanced grade high-tier deity level existences. The remnant souls of the three Black Dragon Emperors narrowed their eyes slightly as they watched this scene. He was a little surprised. Where did this kid come from? Not only did he have so many high-level bloodlines, but he could also rely on his legendary tier elementary grade strength to have so many high-tier deity level helpers. Could this be a son of a divine kingdom from some divine kingdom? He muttered in his heart. However, he was naturally not afraid. He was an existence that had almost successfully established its own divine kingdom back then. Even if it was only one, no, three remnant souls now, it would not be afraid of an existence at the level of a son of the divine kingdom. He stopped thinking about it, and his gaze landed on Zhou Zhou and the others. Looking at Zhou Zhou's expression, he could tell that he had no intention of giving up. Extremely stubborn. Forget it. I can still snatch your body even if I kill you, the remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor in the middle said. Then, the three Black Dragon remnant souls rushed towards Zhou Zhou and the others. Kill. Gerard knew that he relied on the existence of the pillar of the Empire puppet. As long as the pillar of the Empire puppet was not spoilt, he would not really die. At most, he would lose the divine power of this body. Therefore, he was not afraid at all when facing this Black Dragon remnant soul that gave he a lot of pressure. He directly raised his space-splitting blade, grinned, and rushed towards it. However, even though his courage was commendable, there was still a huge difference in strength between the two sides. Even though Gerard had a high-tier deity-level divine artifact, he was still suppressed by the remnant soul of this Black Dragon Emperor. On the other side, the high-tier deity-level advanced grade purple jade heavenly king snake god looked at the remnant soul of the other Black Dragon Emperor rushing towards it, and fear flashed in its purple jade eyes. Even though he was a top-notch divine goo, he still felt fear from his bloodline even though he was only a remnant soul facing an existence like the Black Dragon who was born at the top of his bloodline. However, there was no suppression. This was because he had some Dragon Slayer characteristics to a certain extent as a divine Gu summoned by Zhou Zhou. The next second, the purple jade heavenly king snake god suppressed the fear in its heart and let out a sharp hiss. Then, it pounced on the remnant soul of the black dragon emperor. The two of them quickly fought in close combat. Even though their bodies were similar and their realms were the same, the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul was clearly stronger than the Purple Jade Heavenly King Snake God. However, the Purple Jade Heavenly King Snake God had sharp poisonous teeth and could inject soul venom into the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul, weakening its strength. Therefore, at this moment, the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul had some advantage in the beginning. However, gradually, the Purple Jade Heavenly King Snake God actually showed signs of turning the tables, making it look like the two sides were actually fighting back and forth. On Zhou Zhou's side, at this moment, they were also fighting the Black Dragon Remnant Soul in the middle. The strength of a high-tier deity-level intermediate grade coupled with top-notch bloodlines like the Chaos Human Bloodline, the Light Sacred Dragon Bloodline, the Original Spirit Race Bloodline, and the 10,000 Gu Emperor Clan Bloodline. Chaos Intimidation, Chaos Breath, Light Sacred Dragon Armor, Light Sacred Dragon Crown, All Things Burn, Extreme Dragon Power, World Fisher, Thunder God Spear. He used all kinds of top-notch bloodline abilities at will to deal with this Black Dragon Remnant Soul. The more Zhou Zhou fought, the more satisfied he felt. He suddenly had an epiphany. Using chaotic origin power above the God Spirit level to use these top-notch bloodline abilities was the correct way to open these top-notch bloodline abilities. In the past, his ability to use these top-notch bloodlines without reaching the God Spirit level had never displayed the true power of these abilities. At the same time, he realized the power of a command-type lost skill. Just the Black Iron Tier Lord Talent, King, had caused his strength to soar to this extent. What if he comprehended the incomplete Lord Law skill behind it? What if he comprehended the Lord Law skill behind the Extraordinary Tier King? Zhou Zhou could not imagine how much his strength would increase. At the same time, facing Zhou Zhou and the other Black Dragon Emperor's remnant souls, he was also a little shocked. He never expected that. This human lord's strength could actually increase to such a level in a short period of time. The other party's original strength was only at the legendary tier elementary grade, but it could already do this. What would happen if he advanced to the God Spirit level? The more the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul thought about it, the greedier he looked at Zhou Zhou. I must take his body and use it as my new body. When the time comes, he could completely use this body as a basis to create a great undertaking that he didn't even dare to think about before. Moreover, he might even be able to counterattack the immortal world and wash away the humiliation he had suffered in the immortal world back then. At the thought of this, he no longer hesitated. Roar! He let out an earth-shattering dragon roar at the sky. The next second, the other two Black Dragon Remnant Souls suddenly shook off Gerard and the Purple Jade Heavenly King Snake God. Then, they rushed towards this Black Dragon Remnant Soul and rushed into his body. Boom! An incomparable aura erupted from him. Then, the body of the Black Dragon Remnant Soul began to grow again. 1,000 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers, 7,000 kilometers, 9,000 kilometers. It was only when his dragon body expanded to 9,999 kilometers that he seemed to have reached a limit and stopped growing. At the same time, his aura and might had reached an extremely astonishing level. This moment, it was as if it could tear through space with a gentle move of its sharp claws. A look could make a low-tier deity level or even a mid-tier deity level stiffen. Roar! The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul roared at the sky. The space inside the green bronze mausoleum suddenly shattered. Then, under the control of a huge divine power, it turned into a completely different deep black space in the blink of an eye. Reforge the space. I'm only a step away from refining the world. Zhou Zhou looked up at the Black Dragon Remnant Soul with a solemn expression. This guy's strength is probably infinitely close to the true God tier. he muttered. At this moment, the black dragon remnant soul, which was as huge as a pillar, slowly lowered its head and looked down at Zhou Zhou, the little worm. He looked at Zhou Zhou, and his eyes suddenly turned blood red. Two blood-colored pillars of light shot out of his eyes, enveloping Zhou Zhou in them at lightning speed. At this moment, Zhou Zhou suddenly felt that his soul was about to be forcefully pulled out of his body, and another unfamiliar and cold soul was about to take the opportunity to enter his body and become the new owner of this body. You want to possess me? Zhou Zhou's expression turned cold. Haha, what's the use of your struggle? Back then, I held the Divine Kingdom Advancement Ceremony and was already a true God-tier elementary grade existence. Even though I'm only a remnant soul now, my essence is still at the true God tier. What's so difficult about possessing a high-tier deity level like you? The Black Dragon remnant soul laughed. In fact, with his previous experience, he naturally wouldn't be so smug if it was just an ordinary possession. However, he knew that once he succeeded in this possession, his future would be unimaginably bright. Not to mention returning to the body of a life form and rebuilding the divine kingdom that he had not built back then. Even if he counterattacked the immortal world and became the lord of the immortal world, there was even a chance of becoming the lord of all races. Thinking of such a future, that was why the Black Dragon remnant soul was so excited. On the other side, facing such a dangerous situation, Zhou Zhou did not panic at all. He placed the regal sage Dao sword back at his waist and took out the sword of new dimension creation, holding it in his hand. The spatio-temporal region. In an instant, the blood-colored pillar of light that enveloped Zhou Zhou was isolated by the spatio-temporal region's independent world. Zhou Zhou immediately felt his soul steadily return to his body. The Black Dragon remnant soul's surprised voice came from the sky. His blood-red gaze swept across and quickly landed on Zhou Zhou in the spatio-temporal region, and the sword of new dimension creation in his hand. True God-tier divine artifacts? The Black Dragon remnant soul exclaimed. His voice was filled with unconcealable fanaticism and greed. True God-tier divine artifacts. It had to be known that even those true God-tier might not have a divine artifact of this level. Only those lords of the divine kingdom might have true God-tier divine artifacts. As for those true God-tier experts who had true God-tier artifacts, all of them were absolute experts among true God-tier experts. Even Master God-tier had to show a certain amount of respect to true God-tiers who had true God-tier artifacts. If it was a true God-tier advanced grade true God-tier who had a true God-tier divine artifact that matched him, even Master God-tier would have to treat such an existence as an equal. This was because such a true God-tier already had the qualifications to fight a Master God-tier who had just entered the Master God-tier. Back then, when he held the Divine Kingdom Advancement Ceremony, if he had a true God-tier divine artifacts in his hands, he could protect his Divine Kingdom Advancement Ceremony while directly killing the attacking true God-tier, let alone that dog seal. A true God-tier with a true God-tier was that strong. Then, he suddenly realized something. Then, after a few seconds of silence, he suddenly used his dragon claws to tear at the space in front of him, wanting to open a spatial passageway to escape. This human lord had top-notch combat strength comparable to a high-tier deity level to begin with. Now that he had the help of this true God-tier divine artifacts, at this moment, this human lord was already far superior to him. If he wanted to fight him forcefully and possess his body, not only would he fail to possess it, but he would also lose his powerful remnant soul body. With my current remnant soul body, as long as I find another portion of the green bronze mausoleum infused with the incomplete dragon soul inside, I can restore the complete dragon soul divine body. At that time, I will have half of my strength at my peak. A true God tier with half of his strength is also a true God tier. At that time, even if this human lord has true God-tier divine artifacts, he won't be able to pose any threat to me. When the time comes, I can snatch his body, bloodline, and true God-tier divine artifacts. The Black Dragon remnant soul thought. However, in the next second, his expression suddenly turned ugly. This was because he realized that he actually could not break through this space he had created. How is that possible? My current strength is infinitely close to that of a true god tier. How can I not open this space? The black dragon remnant soul looked at the space in front of it in disbelief. Then, he thought of something and looked at Zhou Zhou below. Zhou Zhou was looking at it with the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. On his right hand, blood-colored streams of light seemed to be half alive. They kept spinning and dancing in his palm, finally forming an impenetrable blood-colored cage. This cage was clearly in Zhou Zhou's hands. However, from the perspective of the black dragon remnant soul, which was once a true god tier, this cage had clearly imprisoned the entire space. It was the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique that Zhou Zhou had once obtained from the illusory fate race. Zhou Zhou had already used the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique to seal this world just now. The grade of the heaven-sealing void life concealment technique was so high that even the true god tiers of the many top races who participated in the Broken Battle Axe event back then could not discover the illusory life race that was hiding with this method. Only the space-time true god tier and a few other master god tier existences happened to catch a glimpse of the world of the illusory life race. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul was naturally not something that a high-tier deity-level advanced grade remnant soul infinitely close to the true god tier could remove. You sealed you and me in this closed-off space that we can't leave. You shouldn't be trying to die with me. Which means, you have the method to leave this closed-off space. It seems. I can only try to kill you. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul said in a low voice, Human Lord, you're too arrogant. Even if you have the true god-tier divine artifacts, once I really attack with all my might and risk being seriously injured, you will only die at my hands. Oh. Zhou Zhou looked at him with some interest. Then let this king see the methods of a former true god-tier like you. Aren't you afraid of death? The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul could not help but ask when it saw Zhou Zhou's confident expression. This king just wants to experience what it's like to die. Zhou Zhou said sincerely. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul misunderstood Zhou Zhou. A little lord from the lowly slut race. He just doesn't know how high the sky is. I'll make you regret saying this. The Black Dragon remnant soul was really angry. At this moment, the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul actually felt a sense of fearless confidence from this little bug. I'm a true god-tier god spirit. He opened his dragon mouth and bit Zhou Zhou. However, Zhou Zhou casually slashed out a silver sword that was more than 10,000 kilometers long, splitting the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul in half. This Black Dragon remnant soul, which was infinitely close to becoming a true god tier, could not even withstand a single strike from Zhou Zhou. It's infinitely close to a true god tier, but it's only infinitely close to a true god tier. In front of the might of a true god tier, if you don't have any trump cards, you can say goodbye to this world. Zhou Zhou said coldly. The chaotic power source in his body had already reached the high-tier deity-level intermediate grade. Chaotic power source at this level could already perfectly use the power of the Sword of New Dimension Creation, which meant, at this moment, it already had the destructive power of a casual attack from a true god-tier elementary grade. Still, it was not without flaws. Zhou Zhou sensed the promotion energy in his body. The sword had consumed 80% of his chaotic energy. The remaining chaotic power source would not be as powerful as before even if he could swing his sword again. He felt a dull pain in his chaos physique. He even felt like it was cracking and collapsing. He had a premonition. If he swung his sword again without any scruples, his body would directly collapse and he would die. However, his expression was calm and he was not afraid at all. This was because he could sense it. Even if he used 20% of his chaotic power source to launch the next attack, this sword could still kill the remnant soul of the Black Dragon Emperor, whose strength had been greatly reduced. Courting death. You forced me. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul was enraged once again. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Sacred Ancestor, please show yourself. As soon as he finished speaking, The dragon soul pressure emitted by the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul rapidly decreased. At the same time, his body began to shrink rapidly. 9,000 kilometers, 8,000 kilometers, 5,000 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. When the Black Dragon Remnant Soul's body shrunk to a height of 700 to 800 kilometers, he stopped shrinking. At the same time, the aura of another incomparably terrifying existence quietly appeared in this space. He didn't reveal a specific form. However, even an illusory body was more than 100,000 kilometers tall. And this was only because the reforged spatial world was more than 100,000 kilometers wide. Zhou Zhou looked at this existence and had a feeling. If he appeared in the real world, then his body would immediately expand to billions of kilometers in size. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he blotted out the sky. Soon, when he appeared, all the light in the world seemed to have lost its meaning. The entire space fell into extreme darkness. Only the pair of dragon eyes that contained a deep black-purple light stared at the vast refining world, becoming the only source of light in this dark world. Legendary dragon, dark holy dragon, Zhou Zhou muttered. This existence that seemed to have gathered the extreme darkness of the endless heavens was the legendary dragon of the dragon race, the dark holy dragon. It was on the same level as the former extreme world honor dragon and the light sacred dragon under Zhou Zhou. Of course, the same level here only referred to the bloodline level. In terms of strength, the light sacred dragon was only at the epic tier. Regardless of whether it was the extreme world honor dragon or the dark holy dragon, they were both master god tier existences that had been famous for a long time. Even though his reputation was inferior to the 10 master god tiers, it was still much stronger than ordinary master god tier. Interesting. Ingesal's bloodline actually appeared on a human? The dark holy dragon, Dafarosh, looked at Zhou Zhou in wonder. Following that, he turned his gaze, wanting to investigate Zhou Zhou's past. Then, he seemed to have discovered something. His gaze landed on the regal Saint Dao sword at Zhou Zhou's waist, and he raised his brows slightly. He looked at the sword in silence for a long time before finally suppressing the thought of investigating the other party's past. Divine Ancestor, please kill this human lord. Junior, Qin Wuxer, in the future, I will build the temple His Majesty needs wherever the Divine Ancestor can reach in the myriad worlds and provide the Divine Ancestor with eternal faith. Even though the Black Dragon Remnant soul Qin Wuxer's voice was very weak, his attitude was very firm. On the other side, Your Holiness Dafarosh. Zhou Zhou looked at the possessed Black Dragon Remnant soul and said politely, the Dark Holy Dragon was a legendary dragon of the dragon race and the ancestor of all black dragons. It was naturally worthy of respect. However, the only bad news for him was, it was recorded in the legendary dragon secrets of the Light Sacred Dragon. The Dark Holy Dragon bloodline and the Light Sacred Dragon bloodline had never been on good terms. Unlike the Extreme World Honor Dragon, who could give the Light Sacred Dragon face and let him off, Zhou Zhou looked at the Dark Holy Dragon and had a bad feeling. However, he was not afraid. This was because his innate intuition and danger prediction did not warn him that danger would appear next. The owner of the Light Sacred Dragon's bloodline. Even though you and I can be considered to have a certain relationship, due to the contract, I have to attack you once. After one, I'll leave. Life and death are up to fate. I hope you can handle it. The Dark Holy Dragon said calmly. Then, he saw a huge purple dragon eye suddenly appear above Zhou Zhou. The dragon's eye spanned thousands of square kilometers. From afar, it looked as if the heavens had opened their eyes. The next second, drops of black liquid flowed out of the dragon's eyes. Then, more and more black liquid appeared. It was as if it was raining black. The rain fell on Zhou Zhou's body. Sizzle. Zhou Zhou's eyes narrowed. Traces of corrosion appeared on the Emperor Dragon robe he was wearing. Some parts of it even cracked. Every drop of rainwater can easily kill a god's spirit. Zhou Zhou was secretly alarmed. The next second, crash. It was like a downpour. Dense black rain fell from the sky and covered Zhou Zhou's entire body. From the outside, Zhou Zhou's existence could not even be observed. At this moment, boom, a five-colored light erupted from the black rainwater and directly broke through the slanting black water pillar, forming an illusory sword domain formed by the five-colored five-elements sword chi in the surroundings. High-tier deity intermediate grade sword formation, great five-elements sword formation. Even though this five-element sword array was originally an epic-tier advanced grade sword array, it was only limited by Qi Xuantian's cultivation back then. In fact, in the Sword Dao inheritance in his mind, there was a five-element sword array that led directly to the high-tier deity-level advanced grade. Zhou Zhou had previously obtained Qi Xuantian's Sword Dao inheritance through the Lord Shop. Now that his strength had temporarily increased to the high-tier deity-level intermediate grade, he could naturally use this higher-level five-element sword array. Under the support of the five-element sword array, the black rainwater that fell from the sky was finally isolated from the five-element sword array. The five-element sword array focused on defense. Zhou Zhou was not surprised that it could achieve such an effect. However, the dark holy dragon, which was standing in the sky, did not think so. He looked at Zhou Zhou in surprise. Sword chi thread? How long has it been since the king of the blazing sun arrived in the high continent? He has already reached such a level? As a legendary dragon that had never died and reincarnated, he understood almost 90% of the matters in the myriad worlds after living countless years. He naturally understood the sword cultivator's realm of sword chi thread. One had to know that some sword cultivators might not be able to comprehend such a realm after living for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. And once one comprehended this realm, normal life forms could kill gods above their level. Something as ridiculous as killing a high-tier deity-level expert could happen. It could be seen how terrifying Sword Chi Thread was. This king of the blazing sun had actually comprehended such a realm in such a short period of time after coming to the high continent. It truly surprised him. With such great comprehension, great opportunity, and great will, it is no wonder he could obtain the attention of the extreme world-honored dragon, the light sacred dragon, and even the regal dragon. The dark holy dragon's eyes were deep. Legendary dragons almost never appeared in the eyes of life forms. Their main activity place was the Chaos Sea or even the world outside the Chaos Sea. Such a place, even Master God tier rarely ventured there. What more a true God tier? It was unbelievable that the king of the blazing sun could be related to so many legendary dragons on the high continent. Interesting. Then show me what you're made of. An interested look appeared in the dark holy dragon's eyes. Then, with a thought, it activated 1/1000th of its power. The next second, the amount of black rainwater that fell from the sky increased by 10 times. At the same time, the quality of the black rainwater suddenly increased by 10 times. Zhou Zhou, who was the first to bear the brunt, immediately changed his expression. His first thought was, he would definitely not be able to block it. The second thought was, let's give it our all. He did as he said. Without thinking, he restrained the regal dragon resistance in the regal sage Dao sword and told he not to attack. On the other hand, he extracted all the energy in his body and even extracted the power in his body and poured it all into the sword of new dimension creation in his hand. Buzz. The sword of new dimension creation trembled violently, especially the silver wheel at the center of the hilt. It emitted a crisp ring that seemed to be able to transmigrate time and space. At the same time, silver-gray power of time and space surged out of the silver light wheel, independently dividing the space around Zhou Zhou into a complete spatio-temporal region. Zhou Zhou's expression changed slightly as he held the sword of new dimension creation. At this moment, he felt that this true god-tier divine artifacts seemed to have the weight of a world. He actually had a faint feeling that he could not lift it. He gritted his teeth. Regardless of the fact that his body was already crumbling more and more, and hideous cracks had even appeared on his body, he forcefully lifted it up with difficulty and raised it above his head. Then, he activated the Myriad Sword Immortal formation at the high-tier deity level intermediate grade. Wisps of sword chi mixed with blood light quickly interweaved and gathered under the realm of sword chi thread. Then, in the blink of an eye, they formed a huge silver-gray sword chi that was 10,000 miles long with blood threads. Thick space-time fluctuations spread out in all directions from this huge silver-gray sword chi. Wherever it passed, space shattered and time slowed down. Its power was astonishing. High up in the sky, when the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul saw this scene, he was secretly shocked. This sword was even stronger than the previous attack. Was this guy a monster? The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul couldn't help but think. However, he soon became envious. The better this human lord performed, the more it proved that he had made the right choice. I must possess this human's body. The Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul licked his lips as he thought. At this moment, Zhou Zhou, whose clothes were tattered and covered in blood, used his last bit of strength to finally slash out with the sword that he had accumulated all his strength. The black rainwater was cut into two wherever the sword chi passed. Then, in the manner of space-time leap, it charged towards the dark holy dragon in the sky. The dark holy dragon also saw the sword. A look of admiration flashed in his eyes. Then, he once again used 1/1000th of his strength. The total amount of black rainwater increased by 10 times, and the quality also increased by 10 times. Rumble. It was suspected that a divine river had descended from the 9 heavens. The myriad sword immortal formation that Zhou Zhou had just released was directly suppressed and obliterated by the black rain that had increased in power. Right on the heels of that, the black rain continued to tilt towards Zhou Zhou, enveloping him before he could escape. Boom. Space destroyed. Time shattered. Under this attack, even a small world would be destroyed. Dead. When the Black Dragon Emperor's remnant soul saw this scene, he was shocked and secretly worried. At least leave 1 drop of his blood. This way, he could use his own means to reconstruct Zhou Zhou's body before possessing it. He wouldn't be able to obtain anything if there was not even a drop of blood left. Is he dead? On the other side, when the Dark Holy Dragon saw this scene, it could not help but think. Then, he immediately threw away this thought. He could sense it. Even at the last moment, this human did not feel any despair. He must have his own trump card. Thinking of this, the Dark Holy Dragon had a thought. The black rainwater that had already covered half of the green bronze mausoleum suddenly vanished. He looked over at the spot where Zhou Zhou had been floating. A grayish-white crown stood there quietly. Wisps of grayish-white aura continued to rise from the crown, carrying traces of dense final aura. Right on the heels of that, wisps of final power gathered together and gradually gathered into a complete human figure. Then, the human figure's face and clothes gradually became clear and finally condensed into Zhou Zhou's appearance. Boom! A legendary cultivation aura erupted from his body. Zhou Zhou felt that his strength had increased by a small level and a smile appeared on his face. Even though it only increased by a small level, it also verifies what I've always thought. This power of final nirvana can indeed revive one's strength without any side effects. Even my damaged Emperor Dragon Robe has recovered. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. His eyes lit up as he thought, and he could feel the power of final nirvana could have the same revival effect even if he entered the God Spirit realm in the future. And now, the number of times he could revive was 24 times. It was enough for him to safely survive 24 death crises. Since the power of final nirvana is so superb, it's better to die as little as possible in the future. At least I can't die just to increase my strength. It wouldn't be worth it. I have to use the power of final nirvana in a true life and death crisis. Zhou Zhou muttered. He was just experimenting with the use of the power of final nirvana. He would let it be since it had been used. Zhou Zhou stopped thinking and looked up at the Dark Holy Dragon. The contract has been completed. Lord of the Blazing Sun, you're an interesting lord. I hope we meet again in the future. The Dark Holy Dragon was about to leave after saying that. Divine Ancestor? Lord Divine Ancestor, you can't leave. You haven't killed that human lord yet." When the Black Dragon Remnant Soul saw that the Dark Holy Dragon was about to leave, it immediately panicked. Not only was this human not dead, but his strength had also increased. He would definitely not be able to defeat him. Wouldn't he only have a dead end facing this human lord alone now that his backer was about to leave? The Dark Holy Dragon glanced coldly at him. Boom. The huge divine sense impact instantly obliterated the consciousness of the Black Dragon Remnant Soul. Before the Black Dragon Remnant Soul could react, its eyes became lifeless and its face became very dull. After doing all this, the Dark Holy Dragon seemed to have done nothing and its body gradually disappeared into the void. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows slightly when he saw this. After seeing the Dark Holy Dragon completely disappear, he flew up and came to the stunned Black Dragon Remnant Soul. After another inspection and confirming that the other party's consciousness had really been erased, Zhou Zhou could not help but shake his head. This Black Dragon Remnant Soul was really stupid. Did he really think that an existence like the legendary tier dragon race could be commanded by him? You're teaching the legendary tier dragon race? This Black Dragon Remnant Soul only had itself to blame for falling to such a state. He put it away and prepared to use it as a building material for the dragon transformation pool after it was built in the future. Zhou Zhou did not care about the treasures in the other green bronze mausoleums mentioned by the Black Dragon Remnant Soul. It was only a partial treasure of an Empire-level Lord faction. In the High Continent, it was neither too much nor too little. With the luck he had now, there was no need to spend so much effort on the treasures of an Empire-level Lord faction. If he had that time, he might as well develop his blazing Sun Kingdom in peace. He would leave treasures to fate. To Zhou Zhou, the greatest treasure was actually the many Lord talents on him and the Lord laws behind them. Then, he called out a mysterious merchant from his internal world and used the mysterious merchant to open a spatial passageway and left this lonely world. However, the moment he came out, Zhou Zhou was stunned by the scene in front of him. He was actually standing on a ruin. When he looked into the distance, he could barely see the traces of the distant mountain range. The Black Dragon Mountain range that was here previously had actually disappeared. Just as he was in a daze, a sword light and a golden light descended from the sky in front of him, revealing the figures of two god spirits. They were the Lord of the Night Empire, Ji Yun, and the Lord of the Divine Sword Empire, Lu Zhan. The two of them sized Zhou Zhou up from head to toe before Lu Zhan laughed. I knew it. This kid is so lucky. How could he die in a small green bronze mausoleum? He smiled. Ji Yun heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that Zhou Zhou was really not injured. Then, he smiled and said, as long as nothing happened. But you did scare us. Especially old Lu. When this guy heard that you were in danger in the green bronze mausoleum I gave you, he immediately rushed over and quarreled with me. Then, he directly slashed this Black Dragon Mountain range into pieces just to save you. But it's strange. After old Lu shattered the entire Black Dragon Mountain range, we didn't even see the green bronze mausoleum, let alone you. We were so frightened that we thought you had encountered some danger that even we couldn't discover. I didn't expect you to appear in front of us in the blink of an eye. Can you tell me what happened? Ji Yun looked at Zhou Zhou curiously. Lu Zhan also looked at Zhou Zhou. He was also curious about how Zhou Zhou appeared again. Of course, he would not force the question if the other party was unwilling to say it. Would you believe me if I said that I fought with the Master God tier? Zhou Zhou sighed. Lu Zhan and Ji Yun looked at each other at the same time and smiled. When did this kid become so humorous? The two of them did not ask further. In any case, it was fine as long as Zhou Zhou returned safely. Zhou Zhou did not say anything else. He knew that they would not believe him. But to be honest, Zhou Zhou was quite touched that these two came over together and even shattered the Black Dragon Mountain range for him. The green bronze mausoleum is gone. He thought for a moment and said, if it's gone, so be it, as long as you're safe. Ji Yun said indifferently. Lu Zhan nodded. A mystic realm that could only provide special-grade soldier types was indeed nothing to them. Zhou Zhou did not say anything else. After that, he did not stay any longer. After bidding farewell to the two majesties, he left and returned to the back blazing Sun Kingdom. On the way, Zhou Zhou happened to encounter an intermediate kingdom Scarlet Army with more than 10 million soldiers. With the intention of not wasting it, he used the remaining insight defection. A total of 2,785,522 fog monsters. At this point, the number of soldiers under Zhou Zhou had reached 2,066,397, 64 fog monsters. The number of Star Alliance soldiers under his command had reached more than 216 million. In total, he could control more than 2,282 million troops. A moment later, blazing Sun Kingdom. In front of the kingdom's golden tablet, Zhou Zhou stood in front of it and looked at the book of silver in his hand. A text notification appeared. Do you want to fuse with the current kingdom's golden token, blazing Sun Kingdom?
Yes.
Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. The next second, the book of silver in his hand turned into wisps of silver light and fused into the kingdom's golden tablet in front of him. After all the silver-white light spots fused in, a new text notification appeared. Book of Silver hint. Please choose the soldier type you want to advance to. 1. Special soldier type, King of Yellow Gold. 2. Special soldier type, Mammoth Halberd Soldiers. 3. Special soldier type, Blood Berserker. 4. Advanced grade soldier type, Wind Knight. Zhou Zhou took a look and chose the King of Yellow Gold without hesitation. As for the Mammoth Halberd Soldiers and the Blood Berserkers, the former was just a special soldier type that Zhou Zhou had created on the spot with the soldier type class change certificate in order to check the abilities of this soldier type. As for the latter, they were refugees who had come to the blazing Sun Kingdom because of their beauty talent and could not be manufactured on a large scale. Therefore, King of Yellow Gold was still the best choice. The next second, a new text notification appeared again. Book of Silver hint. You have chosen the special grade soldier type, King of Yellow Gold as the promotion target. Upgrading in progress. In the world of Galaxy Number 7, King of Yellow Gold's camp. Nearly 1 billion Yellow Gold King soldiers were stationed here. However, even though there were many King of Yellow Gold soldiers, this place did not seem crowded. The King of Yellow Gold soldiers had plenty of space to train, exercise, entertain, and rest here. At this moment, all the King of Yellow Gold soldiers' bodies suddenly trembled. Then, dark golden light flew out of their bodies and quickly enveloped them. Wu Xian, who was preparing to advance to a god spirit in the main camp, quickly sensed this scene through his perception that was about to transform into his divine sense. His expression immediately changed, and he was about to go out to see what was going on. A message from his lord came from his personal terminal. Wu Xian took a look and heaved a sigh of relief. Then, a smile appeared on his face. There's actually such a good thing. He smiled. Then, he did not continue to advance to a god spirit. Instead, he walked out of the military camp and looked at the Yellow Gold Kings who had fallen into an advanced state, preparing to protect them. Even though they would almost not encounter any danger in the folded space of the galaxy. However, Wu Xian felt that he would only be truly at ease if he protected them until they advanced successfully. A moment later, the dark golden light on a white silver tier King of Yellow Gold gradually dissipated. A human soldier more than 20 meters tall appeared in front of him. He was wearing dark golden armor and a dark golden mountain-shaped helmet. He wore a dark golden mask and held a huge dark golden sword in one hand and a huge dark golden mountain shield in the other. The phantom of a tall mountain surrounded his body. Just standing there gave people a huge sense of oppression. Oh my God, it's simply like a mountain. Is this the advanced soldier type of the King of Yellow Gold that His Majesty mentioned? Wu Xian clicked his tongue in wonder. Just by looking at its size and aura, he knew that this soldier type's combat strength was not weak. He walked over and opened the soldier's details. Subject, Lin Xiaojiu. Territory, Blazing Sun Kingdom. Soldier class name, Yellow Gold Tier God Attendant. Kingdom level soldier type. Strength level, White Silver Tier Elementary Grade. Ability overview, the top soldier type of the extinct Yellow Gold Kingdom, and also the strongest combat strength soldier type in the yellow gold tier kingdom. A kingdom-level soldier type created by the god of yellow gold, tier, Trakel, with his own divine power. He originally created this soldier type to protect himself and the kingdom, but in the end, he still fell under the siege of the gods. Not only was the kingdom destroyed, but he was also dismembered by the gods. Skills: Kingdom-level combat talent, yellow gold tier divine body, Kingdom-level combat talent, yellow gold tier mountain giant, Kingdom-level combat skill, yellow gold tier protection, talent, divine power weakening, talent, creation of yellow gold tier, creation of original gold, white silver tier elementary grade, mountain guardian, white silver tier elementary grade, tier elementary grade, sturdy as a rock, white silver tier elementary grade, tier elementary grade, unyielding, white silver tier. Elementary grade, gravity manipulation, white silver tier elementary grade, white silver tier elementary grade flying, white silver tier elementary grade, white silver tier elementary grade. Loyalty, 90. Potential, epic tier advanced grade. My good lord. Wu Xian clicked his tongue. This skill list looked ridiculous. It was not inferior to the violent storm spirit at all. Then, a smile appeared on his face. The Blazing Sun Kingdom already had 2 kingdom-level soldier types. Coupled with the huge number of soldiers, it could be said that the current military strength of the Blazing Sun Kingdom had increased by 2 to 3 times. At the same time, in a study room in the Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise, in front of the kingdom's golden tablet, Zhou Zhou looked at the text notification in front of him. Book of Silver Hint, your special soldier type, King of Yellow Gold, has officially advanced to the kingdom-level soldier type, Yellow Gold God Attendant. Here is the specific class information of the kingdom-level soldier type, Yellow Gold Tier God Attendant. Class name, Yellow Gold Tier God Attendant. Soldier type class grade, kingdom-level soldier type. Skills of soldier class, kingdom-level combat talent, Yellow Gold Tier Divine Body, Kingdom-level combat talent, Yellow Gold Tier Mountain Giant, Kingdom-level combat skill, Yellow Gold Tier Protection. Zhou Zhou roughly looked at the general class ability information of this kingdom-level class. Then, he opened the information of each class skill and read them carefully. Then, a smile appeared on his face. As expected of an advanced soldier type of the King of Yellow Gold, all the skills were completely upgraded versions of the King of Yellow Gold. Moreover, compared to the King of Yellow Gold, not only did the Yellow Gold God Attendant retain its previous ability to fight in all aspects, but it was also stronger in terms of defense. It could defend against the attacks of the enemies on the way, and was better at protecting its allies at the back. They were completely the soldier type that Zhou Zhou wanted to be able to fight perfectly with the violent storm spirit. A top-grade ideal soldier type. Zhou Zhou sighed but felt a little regretful instantly. Now that the green bronze mausoleum had disappeared, he could not obtain a second book of silver. As for the other green bronze mausoleums, firstly, Zhou Zhou did not know anything about them. He had also asked Lu Jin and Ji Yun. The 2 human emperors did not know anything about them either. It could be seen that this was the only green bronze mausoleum in the human race. Secondly, the loots in the other green bronze mausoleum might not be the green bronze book or the book of silver that could increase the level of soldiers. I hope I can encounter such a treasure that can increase the quality of my soldier type in the future. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. With the enhancement of his King of Loots and various luck abilities, he might really encounter such treasures again in the future. After that, Zhou Zhou called Aliyah and Atli over and asked them to call all the higher-ups in the territory, including but not limited to generals, civil servants, heroes, god spirits, high-level lifestyle professionals, high-level combat professionals, people who had contributed to the development of the territory, people with high potential, people with high talent. In terms of loyalty, he had to be absolutely dead loyal. The venue was set to be the meeting hall of the Advanced Grade Lord's Paradise. As for the number, Zhou Zhou temporarily set it at 100. A moment later, Xiao Xin, Bai Yun, Feng Luo, Qi Xintian, Wu Xian, Guardian of Death, Zhang'an, Vicky, Guoqiao, Zhao Changshou. A total of 100 subjects gathered in the council hall. A moment later, Zhou Zhou also walked in. "Greetings, Your Majesty," everyone said respectfully and fanatically. Zhou Zhou nodded and asked everyone to sit down. "I summoned everyone here today because I have something very important to announce to you." A towering and vast netherworld palace appeared behind him. It was the reincarnation sacred palace. Everyone's bodies trembled as they looked at the palace in shock. Zhou Zhou did not waste his breath and told them the ability to activate the reincarnation sacred palace. As soon as he finished speaking, all the life forms and god spirits present quickly reacted with excitement on their faces. "There's actually such a strange treasure in the world?" Feng Luo muttered with a shocked expression on his face. "It's not just a strange treasure?" No matter how knowledgeable Heros was, he was so excited that he was incoherent. "Even if it's a high-tier deity-level divine artifact? No, true god-tier divine artifacts, that's not right either. It should be a legendary master divine artifact. I'm afraid its ability is only a so-so." I've never seen a master divine artifact before. I'm just guessing. However, although it's just a guess, I feel that the ability of this reincarnation sacred palace should really be similar to a master divine artifact. As soon as these words were spoken, the others were stunned. What kind of existence was a master god divine artifact? It could be said that there were fewer master god tiers than master divine artifacts. Heros actually said that the reincarnation sacred palace was actually comparable to a master god divine artifact. How could they not be shocked? With the ability of the reincarnation sacred palace, wouldn't I be able to participate in the construction of those famous buildings in history? Zhao Changshu was also very excited. If he could participate in the construction of the buildings of the races, miracles, god-tier buildings, and even those unbelievable buildings in history, even if he was only an assistant, his architect level would probably increase rapidly. It would not be difficult for him to even advance to a higher level. However, after thinking about it, he realized that it was very difficult to do this. Not to mention the upper limit of his potential and whether he could participate. The third difficulty was, according to His Majesty, the time tickets were randomly condensed. The identity and year created could not be specified. Under such circumstances, it was very difficult to randomly choose the years where top-notch buildings had appeared. The cost would be too high if he were to forcibly reforge the time ticket he wanted. No matter how much mist core he had, he couldn't create it like that. On the other side, Baiyun was also extremely excited. With this time world, she was confident that she would be able to break through to the god spirit level 100% by tomorrow morning. After all, even if it was just one night, if the time ratio was infinite, it was equivalent to 13 years of time in the world. After so many years, it would definitely be enough for her to comprehend her own lost skill and break through to the god spirit level. At the same time, she thought of something else. The biggest difference between existences below the god spirit level was ordinary extraordinary tier life forms below the god spirit realm could continuously increase their realms as long as they accumulated enough promotion energy and had high potential until they reached the limit of their potential. On the other hand, existences above the god spirit level not only required promotion energy and potential, but most importantly, god spirits also needed comprehension of laws to continue to advance their god spirit realm. She had been a little worried before. After these top combatants of the Blazing Sun Kingdom broke through to the god spirit level, the speed at which their strength increased might instantly slow down. God spirits needed a lot of time to improve their comprehension of Lord's law after all. However, she was no longer worried. There was enough time. Time was no longer a problem. Lack of law comprehension? She could just enter the time world and stay for a few days. In 7 days in the real world, nearly 100 years had passed. I'm asking if you're ridiculously divorced? The others also voiced out many of their unique thoughts. For example, he could train his troops in the years, practice his medical skills in the years, sharpen his temperament in the years, practice his skills in the years, rest in the years, and practice mastering the military formation in the years. All kinds of thoughts made Zhou Zhou, who had heard everything, smile. The reason why he asked these higher-ups to come over was to let them develop the abilities of the time world to the greatest extent. Now, It seemed that this group of people had a good imagination. Some people even suggested strange usages that Zhou Zhou had never thought of before. He did not say anything. Instead, he let everyone use their imaginations to their heart's content and discuss the use of time. After a while, when Zhou Zhou saw that their discussion had gradually calmed down, he clapped his hands and focused everyone's attention on himself again. I heard everything you said. That's right. This king is very satisfied with your strange ideas. This time world was originally for you to use. Therefore, from tonight onwards, you can enter the time world and use your methods to improve yourselves. But it's only limited to improving myself. If I find out that you used a precious treasure like the reincarnation sacred palace to play around, not only will I revoke his authority to use the reincarnation sacred palace, but I will also punish him. I believe you all know that. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. The sovereign's might was as deep as the ocean. At this moment, everyone's expressions turned stern. No one dared to ignore Zhou Zhou's words, let alone think that Zhou Zhou would not do such a thing. Yes, Your Majesty. We will definitely not do such a thing. Your Majesty, don't worry. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We won't mess around with such a supreme treasure. Everyone expressed their stance seriously. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. Actually, he was just casually mentioning this. They were all his dead loyal subjects. It was almost impossible for them to do something as ridiculous as wasting the country's resources. A faint smile appeared on his face as he talked about another matter. As for the expenses of the reincarnation sacred palace, because it is for your nurturing, the Blazing Sun Kingdom's officials will bear 75% of the total expenses of using the reincarnation sacred palace. As for the remaining 25%, you will spend it yourself. Long live His Majesty. As soon as he finished speaking, all the living beings and god spirits shouted in surprise. 75%. What a high ratio. It was enough to leave them with a large sum of mist core. Your Majesty, can the divine crystals be reimbursed? Vicky couldn't help but ask. As a god spirit, he had to consume divine crystals to enter the passage of time to condense a ticket to the passage of time, reconstruct the ticket to the passage of time, and choose the ratio of the passage of time to the passage of time. If he was in charge of these divine crystals, he wouldn't be able to last long. Sure. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. Even though he did not have many divine crystals, it was not a problem for the few god spirits in his territory to enter the time world to cultivate. Thank you, Your Majesty. Vicky, Qi Xintian, Feng Luo, and the other god spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were overjoyed. Your Majesty, other than us, can the other Blazing Sun Kingdom subjects enter the time world? Zhang Yuanqi asked. The other subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom also have the full strength to enter the time world. But there are two conditions. The first condition is that the loyalty of the Blazing Sun Kingdom subjects who enter the time world must be above 90 points. The second condition is that the Blazing Sun Kingdom subjects who want to enter the time world have to sign a confidentiality contract before entering to ensure that they don't leak any secrets. As for the expenses of normal subjects entering the time world, as long as they enter the time world for personal development and territory development, our Blazing Sun Kingdom's officials can still bear 75% of the expenses for them after inspection and approval. Zhou Zhou had a plan in mind. Your Majesty is wise. Everyone said in unison.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.